I'm Sandra, and I'm just the professional your small business was looking for. But you didn't hire me because you didn't use LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn has professionals you can't find anywhere else, including those who aren't actively looking for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role, like me.
In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you'll miss out on great candidates like Sandra. Start hiring professionals like a professional. Post your free job on linkedin.com/achieve today.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. This is Wildcat Insider with the Mercury sports editor Tim Everson and KMAN sports director Mitch Fortner.
Yeah, of course I remember the 21st night of September. Boy, was that a little humbling. Yikes. Ouch. Woof. Boy, did it get out of hand really quickly. Snowball. And what became a, hey, you're controlling this game, it quickly turned into a living nightmare. Welcome to Wildcat Insider. Be joined by Tim here in just a few moments. He's just now getting back from a Jerome Tang press conference.
He was actually at the door.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, is he waiting for me?
I think he is.
Tim, you can feel free to come in. We'll hear the door opening and everything, but yeah, feel free when you're ready to come in, and we'll talk Cats here for the next couple of hours, including taking a look at the Big 12. We'll hear from Taylor Poitier in just a few moments as well, and the voice of the Wildcats, Wyatt Thompson, at 5:10. I spoke with him earlier today as we had the Chris Kleiman press conference just a few hours ago. But Cats fall to BYU. Final score in Provo, 38-9, in a game where K-State led 6-3 with a couple of minutes to go in the first half. And, of course, there's a lot to break down, but I want to just mention right now, phone lines are open, and the text line is open as well. If you prefer just to text, or you can call us, feel free to do so. The phone number for both is 785-537-1350. Again, the phone number is 785-537-1350. Tell us your thoughts about the game. Tell us what are you most worried about at this point? K-State's 3-1, 0-1 in Big 12 play. Biggest concern after that loss to BYU. Feel free to let us know, or just any thoughts you have in general about the loss to BYU. Again, the phone number is 785-537-1350. Mitch Fortner now with Tim Everson, who has just stepped in studio. What do you think about actually, he just came from the Jerome Tang press conference. Anything cool he mentioned today?
Nothing in particular. They start the season. The first official practice of the season is tomorrow. He's got a bunch of guys that he really likes. He's felt like they've gelled well since they've gotten on campus. Obviously, it's a lot of new faces, but yeah, it was good. I don't know. It'll be interesting to kind of see how they kind of form the new team identity, because it's kind of, with the exception of three guys, a complete turnover from last year.
I know you didn't go to Provo, but you watched the game. You stayed up.
I did.
You use coffee to stay up, or you just power through?
Oh no, I used lots of caffeine.
You would not be a good Mormon. Again, Cats lose 38-9 at BYU. I guess I'll ask you right out of the gate, your biggest concern after the loss to BYU, what stuck out to you as a big issue?
It's so weird, because I think the big thing is the offense. I think whenever Kleiman was asked about it a little earlier today, and we got to talk to him, he talked about the inability for the team to respond. They're going to get put in situations maybe not as weird and dire as the end of the first half and the start of the second half, where it just seemed like, everything that could go wrong will go wrong. But there has to be, in some respect, on some side of the ball, a willingness to kind of say, okay, we weathered that happened. We got to do the next thing, whatever that is, whether that be a touchdown drive, whether that be getting a turnover, whether that be making something happen on special teams. And that didn't happen. I mean, it just felt like through some skill and some dumb luck at the end of the half and start of the second half. BYU landed a knockout punch, and then K-State just kind of spent the rest of the second half stumbling around until finally they fell over at the end, and everyone went home. So that's probably the most concerning thing for me as of right now. It's tough to pick any particular position group, mainly because there was just so much goofy, weird luck type stuff that kind of led to K-State being in that hole.
Well, okay, so let's take this game. Let's go to the end of the first half, beginning of the second half, because that's when it just absolutely all fell apart. Let me break it down for you here real quick, because this all happened from 1:08 left in the second quarter till the 10:45 mark in the third quarter. I already did the math for you. That's 5 minutes and 23 seconds of game time. DJ Giddens fumbles. Scoop and score for BYU. 2 plays later, Avery throws an interception, and BYU takes over at the K-State 29. 2 plays after that, BYU a 23-yard touchdown pass. 4th play of the third quarter, Avery throws again another interception. Baylor had the they choked there at the end of the game at Colorado.
Different problems.
BYU takes over at the K-State 27. The Cougars then score on the second play of that drive. K-State goes 3 and out, and then BYU with the crazy what officially went down as a 90-yard punt return for a touchdown to go up 31-6. So BYU in a span of 5 minutes and 23 seconds scores 4 touchdowns. Real quick, the Giddens fumble. What a freak of nature thing to happen.
Absolutely.
He does not fumble.
He does not.
It really was perfect timing for BYU with the spin move from Giddens, looking to break a tackle, get into space, real quick spin move. It just got punched out at the perfect time. Mm-hmm. And it bounces out, easy scoop and score for BYU. Provo, Utah is having an earthquake. The place is going nuts. That was the first career fumble lost by DJ Giddens. He had fumbled one other time at K-State. I don't even know if he ever really fumbled in high school, but that's just something he doesn't do. It was the last time and the only time he had fumbled previously to Saturday was TCU round 1 in Fort Worth 2 years ago. And in that game, everything was going wrong in that game with the injuries.
Right.
And Will Howard's banged up. Adrian Martinez is banged up. And the passing game did get going, though, that's for sure. Another thing was the punt return for a touchdown. That was a freaking nature thing as well. That's going to live on, and just so happened that K-State was the victim. That's going to live on in the highlight reel for this whole season. That might stand as we get to the end of the year as one of the craziest plays in college football in 2024. Because K-State thought he muffed it. They're selling out for the muff punt. A couple of guys died for it. It took the perfect bounce. And then it's maybe not the most smoothest of sailing, but the blockers were all set up to just reverse field and run nearly 150 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah, and not only did those the two initial guys, I think it was Colby McAllister and I'm blanking on who the other guy was. Not only did they run into each other, but then later, as the BYU returner is cutting lengthways across the field, more guys ran into each other. We had 2 guys run into each other, and then as one guy stood up, it knocked over Ty Bowman, who was also in the position to possibly get a tackle in a fairly deep spot in the field. Still would have been funny, but it wouldn't have been the disaster that ended up happening. So it's really tough. As bad as the game was, and it was just a terrible, terrible game to watch if you're a K-State fan. It's really tough to be super critical about the individual things that went wrong because they were so fluky and weird.
But in between that, to me, it wasn't as fluky, maybe more routine of mistakes, because I thought Avery made a couple of rookie mistakes, especially on the second interception. And what you saw in that play was, what was it, 3rd down or something like that?
I think so.
And here comes the pressure. He steps up in the pocket. It's a late throw. The rookie mistake there is where's the most dangerous place to throw the football when it's late? Or where the offense is improvising. Where is the one place it's the most dangerous to throw the football is right down the middle. Mm-hmm. I didn't necessarily dislike Avery's idea. I can't remember who the wide receiver was, if it was Jace or if it was Keegan. I would imagine it's one of the two because really not a whole lot of other guys are doing much, with maybe the exception of Trey Spivey. But he stepped on the pocket. I think he threw off his back foot while going forward, and he didn't have enough arm underneath, at least enough air underneath it to get it all the way there. It was easily intercepted. And then plus trying to get to DJ when it just wasn't there on the broken up screenplay. Just wasn't there. No. You probably got to learn to eat it or throw it into the ground, and no better to try to just get it all back in one play with the deep throw in the second interception. And then in response to that, K-State had some pretty rough coverage on those 2 touchdown passes. And I don't know what it is, but it just seems like to me, maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like, to me, where the secondary struggles is these crossing routes, where receivers start going vertical, but then they start running sideline to sideline, maybe crisscrossing, doing whatever. But, man, we are losing track of guys when they're running to sidelines. So, I don't want to pick on guys individually. It was just a team mess there for 5 or 6 minutes, and really just not a whole lot got better for the rest of the game. But it was a kind of a team effort, but it was both after the game. It was, Avery was saying we didn't do enough for the defense. We made mistakes, and the defense is like, well, we didn't help out the offense with getting turnovers. And, K-State didn't force any turnovers in the game, and not a whole lot of havoc in the backfield.
No, with the exception of Brennan Mott, which, God bless that man. He's doing it. But we haven't – Toby, the other defensive ends have been pretty quiet. I guess to kind of clarify – guys definitely things definitely went wrong. There were plays that were not executed the way that they needed to be executed. Avery, those throws, bad. The coverage, bad. But it just felt like it all kind of got wrapped in this weird, bubble of the environment. In there. It was super good. I mean, just watching on TV and from what I heard from the people who went, incredible, and they weren't ready. And then it just it's compounding. It just compounded and got bigger and bigger until you blink and you're down 25 points 5 minutes after you were up 3.
Before we get to some text here, I want to just bring my 2 cents about the atmosphere. First of all, yes, BYU is super unique. One of our fellow media members that covers K-State brought up, maybe they're just on another level because they come in sober. And they're not worried about drinking and going out of the parking lot and all that stuff. To me, I think it's because of a sugar high.
I like that.
Because they make it up for these giant donuts, these cougar tails you can buy in the stadium, and it's 1.5 feet long of just pure sugar. And they love those things. And by the way, it also comes with a chocolate milk. So you're loading up. And that's where the energy comes from. That's my 2 cents on the atmosphere. But it did look crazy. But also they had something to go nuts for because these crazy plays were happening. Any place in the country that has a great student showing and has a full stadium is going to be going bonkers and is going to be totally invested in that game when these crazy plays are happening. Mm-hmm. When all of a sudden you just got to scoop and score in an interception off the 13th ranked team in the nation. The students were wanting to rush the field at the end of the game. A few did, but after a while they're like, we're going to hold this one back and because we're going to be ranked here pretty soon as well. And I think they're now 22nd or 21st in the nation. Let's go to a couple of texts from the 785. I fell asleep 5 minutes in and woke up at the end. Best thing that could have happened. That's from Adam.
I agree.
Maybe, I would have assumed some would agree with that as well. Shout out to Troy Coverdale. I think he went to bed early as well. I mean, to be honest with you, I was just so down as a fan. I mean, I'm a big K-State fan. Just as a fan, I was like, this only really happened a couple of times where I'm like, this sucks so much, and there's still a lot of time left. Mm-hmm. I'm on my phone too much. Just can't wait for this game to be over. Let's put this one behind us and move on. It was just rough. From the 620, a question: any concern of number of penalties? Good question. I forgot to write down exactly how many penalties there were, but I know K-State had, I want to say 9.
I think it was 8 for 50.
Okay, with 8 penalties, 50 yards, but there were a high amount in the red zone. Mm-hmm. My concern is not so much the number of penalties, not so much where the penalties took place. It is how they respond from the penalties, because it's killing drives.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where the drives are starting. K-State is struggling on offense to really do much after these penalties take place, or maybe Coach Riley, or if he's hearing from the headset from Kleiman to get conservative on this next third down play. Because I remember after one of the penalties, I think it was on the first drive of the game, and penalty happens. I think it was the false start, and I can't remember if it was second down or whatever. But anyway, third down play, and I think it's 3rd and 5, and they end up running the ball, and it was. I didn't like how conservative that was, especially when you go kick the field goal on the next play.
Yeah, I think it was 3rd and 9. I think after
say
the penalty,
3rd and 5 or something.
It doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think especially after you had the success throwing the ball, you had a touchdown. You had a touchdown to Keegan Johnson. That would have been the first touchdown to a wide receiver all season. So that gets pushed another game because of penalties. Yeah, it's like it makes the whole thing haywire, and it's just like, all right, well, we'll hit the field goal and we'll try again next time, I guess. But it's not good.
Another text, concerned about wide receivers. Where's the downfield throwing? So, yes. I'm working on – I'm really doing a lot of research. I started to do it right before the show started about where is Avery going with the football, how many big plays is K-State. I'll go and give you that right now. K-State from wide receivers has 4 plays this year of 20 yards or more. 4.
Bad.
That's a very bad number.
Real bad.
That's about as much as I can tell you right now. But to me, that's actually, that concern is growing because it doesn't seem like there's anything evolving. I still want to see more from Trey Spivey. I think Jace Brown and Keegan Johnson are trying to do their best, and they're playing hard. And obviously the ball is going in their direction a lot. I think Keegan is stepping up. I also think the defense, playing a lot of cover 2 against K-State. They're obviously wanting to take away the middle. They want to take away the big play. So K-State, I don't know if they're doing the best against what the defense is giving them. But yes, the lack of wide receiver catches and big plays is concerning, especially with now almost everybody at tight end is banged up. Mm-hmm. Braden Lofton's going to be out a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Garrett Oakley has 1, 2 catches this year?
That's it. Yeah. It's
and I think he's banged up, and I don't know. I've heard maybe Will Swanson a little bit banged up, but don't quote me on that. Can't say exactly for sure. And, now everybody in the world is obviously going to be expecting watch for the wheel route, watch the guys out of the backfield to be involved in the passing game. So, and by the way, I thought BYU did a good job of attacking K-State's run, and despite everything going wrong, K-State still averaged, I thought it was a good number. Let me take a look at this real quick. 5.5 yards per carry. I will take it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They still put up the rushing numbers, 228 in the game in a ninth. At least that's still working. But is K-State still too one-dimensional? Probably.
Oh, absolutely they are. There's no question at this point. I don't know what happened early in the season. They made up for it by getting those, those running backs and tight ends more involved. I don't know if that's something that you can reprioritize again, because first of all, it's just so frustrating because it's been multiple years now where this has been the struggle. Like we're talking 4 seasons now where it's just like maybe there's like 1 or 2 wide receivers that are semi-consistent and competent, but aside from that, it's just a drop-off, and I don't know, figure it out, I guess.
Well, I don't want to necessarily put the whole blame on a a group or a guy or,
No.
or Avery and anything like that. They're still taking once in a while the downfield shot. They picked up 9 yards on first down. Hey, it's 2nd and 1. Let's throw the ball down the field and see what happens. They've tried it Dante Cephas twice. The thing is, it's at 2 games where I was not at the game and I could not see the full route. What was the effort? Was that Avery's first look? Was it a second or third option? And then he throws it, and Avery honestly could be more accurate on those passes.
Yeah, it seemed like especially last game, the pass to Dante was overthrown by Avery. It feels like he was there. It looked like he was open, and it was a couple feet out of his reach. And that's obviously got to get better. But there's just no rhythm there. There's nothing leading up to that. So you can't just throw a bomb after not being able to complete anything and hope that it happens. You got to get something going.
That's a good word to bring up, rhythm. Even though K-State, first 2 drives, they're moving it down the field, that rhythm gets disrupted by penalties. And, yes, maybe throwing to the screens, wide receiver screens a little bit too much. I know that's something they really want to get going. You got to rely on a lot of things to make those plays work as well. But, yeah, there's just not much at all in the vertical passing game. Boy, you want to talk about really building that rhythm and building the consistency, get a few big plays going in the passing game. Boy, can that really get some things started, but that's obviously easier said than done. But, yeah, it does feel like it's a grind for this offense to put together a long drive. It's going to take third downs, a lot of third downs to go score some points if you're starting at the 25-yard line.
Yeah, they need DJ Giddens to be getting those 6-yard, 7-yard runs on first downs. That way they can hack away at 2nd and 3rd and short. And that's just not gonna work. That's not gonna work against. There's other really good defenses. Oklahoma State has a good defense and strong defensive line, and they have smart coaches. They're gonna see that K-State can basically only run the ball right now, and they're gonna key in on that. And then they're gonna have to figure something else out. I still have confidence that they can. It's still early. But it's gotta, especially this week, you're back home. You gotta show something. You're back where you're comfortable. That's gotta at least make a step here.
Now, I mean, for my season expectations, though, does that game hurt my confidence in this team? Maybe a little bit, but just based off of history, I know this is a different team. I mean, when K-State has had this game every year, which to me is still like, it's a bit, what's the word I'm looking for, the phrase I'm looking for? Like, I don't want to just accept it like, oh, this is just something K-State does every year. Well, yes, when those games, though, happen, though, in the second half, they make a game out of it. More than often, or more than not, like Texas 2 years ago or the game last year against Oklahoma State. They got within a score and made it a game, even though they had a grind. This was, I thought, much worse. So I do have my concerns, but it's more that it's maybe something I had thinking about after game 1 and game 2 that's just not getting better. There were still enough fluky things in this game that I'm like, well, that scoop and score, where's DJ's mindset at this point? No. Nothing like that. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, let's hear from an offensive lineman. Had a really good Meet the Wildcats with him for this BYU game with Taylor Poitier. He'll speak about the offense against BYU and moving forward for Oklahoma State next.
It's like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Looking for uncommon talent? Meet the grads of life. They're not the typical candidates you're used to, but they're exactly who your company needs. An ideal fit for entry-level positions, internships, and even mentorships. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn more. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Listen to the Under the Hood Show with the Motor Medics for the best car advice on radio. Every Sunday morning at 5 a.m. here on KMAN.
I'm A.J. Sean with a sports update for News Radio KMAN as Wildcat Insider continues. K-State's football team suffered the biggest drop of any of the AP top 25 teams when the latest poll was announced on Sunday, falling 10 spots on the ballot to number 23. Remaining ranked, though, may be the lone bright spot of the weekend for the Cats, who were hammered by BYU Saturday night, 38-9. BYU scored a pair of touchdowns 39 seconds apart before halftime after forcing turnovers on back-to-back K-State drives. Then they went on to score 31 unanswered between the two quarters. The Wildcats return home to face Oklahoma State this coming Saturday at 11. CBS Sports and the Big 12 Conference have expanded their partnership by significantly increasing the number of Big 12 men's college basketball games across the network's platforms. The multi-year deal, which runs through the 2026-27 season, is through a sub-license agreement with ESPN. This new agreement will add 20 games per year to air on CBS Sports Network to bring the total number of Big 12 men's basketball games to at least 26 per season across CBS Sports platforms. The Pac-12's revitalization took another potential step on Monday. According to multiple reports, Gonzaga and the conference are in discussion to have the Bulldogs join the Pac-12 as a basketball school, though an agreement isn't finalized. The Pac-12 still needs 2 more football schools to join the conference by 2026 in order to be eligible for a potential automatic bid to the college football playoff. Chiefs winners last night, Royals off tonight. Now back to Wildcat Insider on News Radio KMAN.
It's a great bed. It's my favorite Genesis song. Abacab.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's not my favorite Genesis song.
Troy played it on the morning show today, and I'm like, I need to know what that song is. So I'm like, I'm playing it this afternoon. I love it.
Have you listened to it with the actual lyrics?
I have.
Okay.
It's great.
What was your favorite before you were cut off?
I like Invisible Touch a lot.
Yeah.
But if you want to go pre-Phil Collins, pre-Phil Collins singing in Genesis, I believe is The Lion Lays Down on Broadway. Early.
I don't go that deep in Genesis. Are you looking it up?
The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Oh, there it is.
It's just kind of but that's more when they were doing their prog rock.
Well,
stuff.
you had more info on this loss that I wanted you. We talked about it during the break that I wanted you to mention because you did a lot of research after the game.
I did. Instead of sleeping after the game ended at like 1:00 in the morning, I wrote my story, which is up on themercury.com if you want to check it out. About
it's a good one. It's very good too.
Thank you. How uncharacteristic of a loss this is, and how K-State kind of got beat at its own game with, they committed penalties, BYU didn't. They committed turnovers, BYU didn't. BYU scored on special teams and had another non-offensive touchdown. K-State had none of that. And so that's obviously big hallmarks of what K-State is about. And when you don't do that and the other team does it, it's real annoying.
BYU went 10 years without a special teams touchdown. They now have 2 in 4 games.
Yeah, the first punt return touchdown since 2018. So it's been a little while since K-State has allowed one of those. The 29-point loss, it is the largest since the 2020 pandemic season. If you want to put that aside, which I liked because there's just so many extenuating factors, players that were available weren't available. There were weird locker room deals also going on that season.
Yeah, each week you didn't know who was going to be in or who was going to be out because, who had COVID? Who were they around?
Exactly. Yeah. And so they count, obviously, but for our purposes, if you put that aside, you got to go back to 2018, which Bill Snyder's last season, just a miserable, miserable year that, of course, ended in Coach Snyder being asked to step aside. The largest loss since then, it tied 35-6 versus number 12 West Virginia, and then that 51-17 smacking versus number 8 Oklahoma. But that's not all. It does get worse. The loss was the worst loss to an unranked team since K-State fell 66-14 at Texas Tech in 2009. That would have been Bill Snyder's first year back after, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. And then, lastly, it is the largest point spread in a loss as a ranked team versus an unranked team in school history. And now K-State, once you get before like 1994, there aren't a lot of opportunities for them to lose as a ranked team because they weren't.
Correct.
They were only ranked
Yes.
like once or twice before that point. But still, I mean, I was born in 1994, so in my in that lifetime, in the Tim lifetime span, they have never lost that badly to an unranked team as a ranked team.
Let's hope it was just a big fluke, and they just give a roundhouse kick to Mike Gundy and the Cowboys on Saturday, which, by the way, kicks off at 11 a.m. PowerCat Game Day, 7 in the morning. Us two, of course, will be on the show, along with Zach Nemechek and Mason Voth. Scoreboard Saturday will be at 6 a.m. with AJ, who's across the glass. And let's hear right now from K-State offensive lineman Taylor Poitier, the media. We got to speak to him earlier today.
How would you characterize kind of what happened when things kind of snowballed on you guys?
After, the two picks or the pick right before half, when we came back, we threw another pick. Things kind of, turned away from us a little bit, but, we still got to, try to find a way out, no matter how far we, get, into the ground, like we got to find a way out. Just a learning point from us. We just got to figure out how we got to move on from this week. From this past week to this week, so we have a big opponent this week. So
you guys opened the game with 2 long drives. Obviously, they didn't end with touchdowns like you would have wanted to, but can you at least take the drive itself, moving forward as like, hey, we moved the ball how we wanted to, we screwed ourselves at the end, but that is how we want to play. That's how we want to. That is what we want this team to be moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. As we were looking forward, like that first drive, I think we were on there for 12 plays, 12-play drive. We went down for, it was like 80 yards or 60 yards or something like that. And, it's crucial when you get down there, you don't finish the red zone every single time. But, we're working on that. Every drive is not going to be easy. Every drive is going to be a, 8-play, 10-play. But it's just always about the finish. And what we need to do better on is just finishing that red zone. That's what Coach Rouse strives on, just finishing the red zone.
Did the altitude or the environment get to you guys at all?
No. I've been to Utah before. I went on vacation earlier this year, and I just wanted to see what it was like. And I didn't really think it really affected me at all, so it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Taylor, why do you think this team has been good about not letting one loss become 2 in recent years?
Because I feel like this is a whole other team that we have in the previous years. A lot more guys who have dreams and aspirations of what we want for this team for later on, like Big 12 and playoffs. And one loss is not going to affect us and how we really want, from going forth later on. We just got to learn from what happened and just keep moving forward. Like I said, never gonna have one loss affect how we want on later on in the season. So,
how did you handle yesterday getting back so early in the morning?
Tell you right now, I didn't sleep at all. That loss left a sour taste in my mouth. I didn't sleep at all. I didn't get a good sleep. Still a little tired, but I'm still, I'm ready to go right now. Ready to go back to work. That's where we're.
Sorry, cut it off there a little bit early, but that's Taylor Poitier earlier today with the media. That last question was another, kind of a key thing, getting ready for this next week of work and getting ready for Oklahoma State. Wyatt told me earlier today, and of course, I recorded an interview with him that's coming up at 5:10. They got back around 4:30 in the morning. I think that's when the plane landed. And then when, of course, they get off and get all the stuff and get on the buses and come back to Vanier, that's after 5 a.m. I mean, Wyatt, he just went straight to work. Kleiman took a nap for 2 or 3 hours, and he went back to work. And like Taylor Poitier said, he's like, I just didn't get no sleep. I just went right back to work. That's just what you have to do. And now we kind of get an idea of what the pain is for the road team, which will be K-State, going on to these towards the West Coast in these later games, playing Big 12 after dark. We're now kind of starting to see. Now we have a taste of like what the toll is on the teams when they come back and preparing for the next game. You kind of wish maybe there was a bye week after this one, but nope. The bye week is the first one is after Oklahoma State.
Yeah, imagine if you're one of the real ACC teams and you got to go play a late game at Cal or Stanford. And then that doesn't work. No, that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, has it happened yet, though?
I don't think so. I don't think, and maybe they will avoid scheduling that because it is just such a small number of teams. But
it'll just end up on the CW or something. Like Hey, CW, just always reserve this 3 o'clock window for when somebody from the East Coast has to fly all the way to the West Coast,
Right.
so they can play in the afternoon, or maybe vice versa.
What I think I saw Texas Tech is playing Arizona, and the kickoff is 10 o'clock Central. Good Lord. No thanks.
I mean, Lubbock, they once upon a time they wanted to be over there in that conference, and they're pretty close to the Mountain Time Zone anyway. That's super. I mean, Tech won't get back until, I don't know how long that flight would be, but that's another 4:30, 5 o'clock arrival, I'm sure, back into Lubbock, Texas. We'll look back at this last week in the Big 12. When we come back, I mean, heck, would you rather be K-State or KU right now? Who both of them, honestly, have had their struggles in the passing game. KU's, though, turnover-wise, is much worse, and they choked another one away.
People are catching KU's passes. It's just not. It's not usually.
It's not going to the right. Even though a couple of those games, they kind of had similar color jerseys, one black, one gray.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. But look at this past week in the Big 12 when we come back on Wildcat Insider. We are back on Wildcat Insider. Mitch Fortner, Tim Everson, AJ Shaw. The next 2 days, Tuesday, Wednesday for the game will just be 1 hour. Royals taking on the Nationals, and those will be 5 o'clock pre-games. So we'll have a short couple of shows and then back at it for 2 hours on Thursday, with the Royals starting at 12:10 for that game against the Nationals as they are choking away their postseason hopes. I think they scored 1 run all weekend.
Gotta love it.
Pretty rough. And, of course, I mean, if you're like me where you're just such a diehard K-State, Dallas Cowboys, Kansas City Royals fan, it's been a rough week. It really has. Volleyball is struggling. Soccer is struggling. It's been a rough season for those two. Yeah, bumpy road so far to where we're at right now. But, of course, going to look to get back at it this week and really rebound and get back on the right track. You know what? Already felt like kind of a pivotal week in the Big 12 for the first, real true week in conference play. The other game, of course, I'm sure that we are all looking forward to watching was Utah at Oklahoma State. Utah not on K-State's regular season schedule. Oklahoma State is in town this week, but that was also a top 25 matchup, top 15 matchup that did not get College Game Day or, Big Noon on Fox, which I believe the Big Ten has the rights to that anyway or something like that. Feels like they get it every week. So
but they're doing Big 12 this week. They're doing Colorado and
are they?
Wherever Colorado is playing.
UCF?
Yeah.
Is that who?
Yeah, it is. They're going down to Orlando, I think. It makes no sense.
They just had to win on a Hail Mary. Or, tie it up or whatever, send it to overtime after the first attempt was dropped. We'll get at that here in a little bit. I mean, we basically just told you the story. But back to Utah and Oklahoma State. Cam Rising does not play, so Isaac Wilson, a true freshman, I believe he's a true freshman, backup quarterback for Utah, throws 17 of 29 for 207 and a touchdown. And in this game, Utah 1 point led 22-3. All Pokes had a 16-point fourth quarter, but boy, you ask Oklahoma State fans, they were just as bad as down in the dumps as we were through those, that second half for the most part, just really wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, I'm sure that probably some are with the kind of surge at the end. It's nice to kind of have that. If K-State had rattled off a couple touchdowns in the fourth quarter, even if they were meaningless, even if it didn't, that would have at least given something to kind of build onto. But, they got to figure out what the deal is with Ollie Gordon. I mean, I know that teams have really kind of honed in on Oklahoma State's running game and forced them to beat teams through the air. But through 4 games this season, I don't know. I think you're pulling up the stats. It's not impressive.
No, it's not. 73 carries, 258 yards. Ollie Gordon, who averaged 6 yards per carry last year, is averaging 3.5 this year. He's averaging a touchdown a game. His longest run right now is 22 yards. Yeah, the running game, I mean, heck, honestly, you could say this about a number of top 25 teams this year, that it's kind of the same story as K-State. A good defense, but offensively, you're kind of one-dimensional. And for Oklahoma State right now, it's the passing game. For K-State, it's the running game. Oklahoma, first of all, Oklahoma's offense isn't that good, but they have a great defense. And so that keeps them in games. Notre Dame, Michigan, those are two one-dimensional teams there as well offensively, and they're still. I believe Michigan is still top 25. They just beat USC, so they're back in it. I'm sure if they're not, but yeah, you're right. Ollie Gordon. You hope it's not deja vu of last year where they just stunk against South Alabama, awful game, and then K-State rolls into town and they get rolled.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much. It was kind of the breakout game for Ollie Gordon, and it's what kind of started his run towards being a Heisman Trophy candidate. Anyway, that game is at 11 a.m. this Saturday here on News Radio KMAN with Power K Game Day, 7 in the morning. Tell you what, Iowa State earning a lot of respect right now. They just steamroll Arkansas State 52-7. Morocco Beck throws for 204 and a couple of touchdowns. I'm not sure if they have a whole lot of a running game right now, but they are, honestly, they're looking impressive.
Yeah, Abu Sama has not had kind of the breakout that a lot of people thought that he would after his 12,050 yards and touchdowns against K-State to close the season. So that's been a little surprising. I mean, look, Iowa went out and won. That makes that win look even better for Iowa State. It's, who knows? Who knows?
The Jayhawks are 1-3. They lose at West Virginia 32-28. I'm sure for a lot of people around here that doesn't break your heart. KU really trying to, I say, figure things out. They've lost every game by one score. And in all three games, they have led in the second half. And in the last two games, they give up the lead in the final 2 minutes. And that was quite the comeback because KU was up 11 with like 5.5 minutes to go, and West Virginia comes back to win that game, and Garrett Green was just 15 of 20, but he threw for 295 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think Devin Neal has still been pretty good, but again, KU is kind of one-dimensional. They're not bad in the passing game, but Jalen Daniels has now turned it over for a total of 9 times. 9 times in 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's not what you want if you're a KU fan, especially with, dark horse college football playoff aspirations coming in. It just kind of keeps spiraling and keeps spiraling. They got to figure it out. I mean, at what point do you bench Jalen Daniels? Is there a better option? Is Cole Ballard better? I don't know. I don't follow KU that closely, and so I know there are fans that were screaming for that before this game. Does having someone who's more of a game manager and can't do the type of flashy things that we all coming into this season, thought Jalen Daniels was known for? I don't know, but you can't keep letting a turnover machine go out there and keep costing you games, especially when you have some of the other good talent that KU has.
Non-conference game, SMU steamrolls TCU 66-42, a super high-scoring game. I believe old Sonny got kicked out of the game. He had a couple of unsportsmanlikes, and he had to go to the locker room in the, late second or early third or something like that?
Yeah, I think he was the first Power 5 coach to get objected under that new 2 unsportsmanlike rule.
Really?
I believe so. I think there may have been I don't remember. There was one before, but I think he's the first Power 4, Power 5, whatever. It's not a good look, especially considering where Sonny Dykes came from. That's obviously even more of a heated rivalry for those fans because he spurned SMU to go to TCU, and now SMU is in the ACC, and so they feel that they are once again equal to their Southwest Conference former brother, and I thought it was pretty hilarious. I thought that the beatdown was pretty funny.
I didn't watch a ton of this game, but I caught a little bit. Texas Tech has really kind of rebounded after that just embarrassing loss at Washington State. They've won now 2 in a row, and they beat Arizona State, who had been on a roll to start the year, 30-22. That final score. Those are two teams that have really good running backs and had to rely on those running backs. And I thought Cam Scatterby would come in with and have a great day, but Taj Brooks is is a pretty solid running back as well. But Texas Tech jumping out to that 14-0 lead was pretty much that was the difference. That first quarter was big.
Yeah, I don't know if Arizona State is quite to the point where they can play from behind yet. But I mean, they're still going to be way better than we thought they were. But I think this was just Texas Tech kind of continue to pull up and stop their nosedive after almost losing to Abilene Christian and then getting slapped. Who did they lose to in the second? Texas Tech.
Who'd they lose to?
Yeah, their second game of the season.
Washington State.
That's right.
And then, of course, Colorado beats Baylor, going overtime, Hail Mary.
Dave Aranda, man. Don't do that. Don't not like this.
Yeah, what was the play they call on defense? The victory cigar.
Don't tell the media that.
Yeah, that was so stupid.
Why would you do that to yourself? I get he's a very straightforward guy and straight shooter, but
Hour 2 of Wildcat Insider. White Thompson next.